we're getting ready to get started here. Just wanted to give you guys a little surprise all the way from Florida. We've got on the line here Junior Miss Seminole, Marissa Allison, who's currently in Florida. How you doing, Marissa?
I'm doing pretty good.
What's going on there? What's been the most interesting thing about Florida so far? All right, Marissa, well, you and Jeremy have a good time, and thank you for representing. You're doing great, wonderful things, and watch out for the Gators. All right, see you later.
We're here today on the Informational Brief. All it is an Informational Brief. It's more or less to get a clarification of some items that probably wasn't covered during council meetings. And it's very, very informal. I mean, you're going to have a chance to engage the chief, but this is just something that you want to get out. Representing the communications department, part of our job is to what? Communicate. So one of the things we're trying to do is get a little bit more clarification, get a little bit more out in the open, a little bit more visible on what's going on and with the nation. I mean, as you can see today, what we've got here is a microcosm of the nation. I drove into Seminole a little while ago, and I seen, I drove into Seminole, I'll just go get something from my office there next to Municipal Street, and there was like eight voting age people growling, nudging, until the barking sounds. We got everything up here. Again, it's all fellowship. Pretty easy. Rules of engagement. Again, if you have something that you want to share or talk about that Chief talked about and it interests you, passionate want to talk about, you will have an opportunity, like I said, to share the information. If you want to use the mic, go ahead. It's kind of a small crowd, so I really don't need it. But if you want to, go ahead. We are going to record this. It's going to be sent on YouTube tomorrow. So if you have anything to say, if there's something you want to talk about even further next week, there'll be another meeting in Oklahoma City. In Oklahoma City next week. So with that, are there any questions? Does anybody have a question for me? All right. Say hello, Chief Greg Chilco.
Good afternoon. Real quick, one of the things that Bo kind of touched on that is very important. We are here. There's many people here. There's some new ones that I'm glad to see here in regards to that I'm not accustomed to on a regular basis. And so I'm very excited about that. Because the thing is here, just like Bo talked about, in the age variation with this, is that we need more involvement from the Seminole people. Period. Hands down. We need to influence the children, the youth, to want to be part of what you guys hold so close. And we need to influence them to be able to bring them along and bring them here so that they're a part of this. Because we're going to come and go. We're going to be done. But it's going to be for them to let what's behind to be able to establish what's established for them. So it's important as we move forward with this that we try to bring on an opinion like this. We need to have more people involved with this. For whatever reason, just so that they're involved, that it's important, that it's serious, that it's something that's trying to be worked in the best positive way for the nation to move forward with. It's important. Because we have the capabilities within ourselves to be able to reach out and help in a better way to help our people. We do. We can operate better. We can do those things that are much more smoother to be able to do that. We have the capabilities. We're smart. We have smart people that can do smart things within the Central Nation of Oklahoma. We just need to get there. And we need more people to be involved, to have more involvement with that so that we can all work together. That's what this meeting was about. To have more people involved. That's the purpose of this. So that we can have that time that we can come together, visit, socialize, we can support the Princess Committees, and we can support each other. It's the bottom line. But we need to do that. We need to be able to inspire and bring more people in so that that's what this was for. And so I just want to say something. I mean, that's important. It's important that we have new individuals involved with this as we move forward. And I just wanted to share that with you just real quick. It's important to me. It's important to me, I know. You know, I don't know about everybody, but it's important to me that we bring tribal members here so that they can share and voice their thoughts, and then they can see where we want to go, or hopefully where we can go as a nation. First off, also, none of this here today, this is to be an informative meeting. It is not to bring negative on any outcome, any impact that's taking place. It is to just be informative of where we're going and what we're trying to do to help resolve our problems that we have. Because we have many problems that we have to face as a nation. And it's not to be decisions that have been made in the past, and those decisions were made. Now we need to work to try to be able to work to get to the other side of the problems that we have. So, one is I want to touch base with you a little bit, not a little bit. I want to talk to you guys about the Grisso Mansion, because the Grisso Mansion has been a big topic for a little while within the nation. At the previous council meeting, there was a resolution that was passed that would allow us to negotiate the sale of the Grisso Mansion. And so that was approved on the floor. I kind of want to give you a timeline of what has transpired from the Grisso Mansion from the time that it's been established to where we're at now with that. We purchased, based on the records that I have, we purchased the Grisso Mansion August 2012. Now, when we purchased that property, it was purchased on fee land, state property land. We purchased that property. They told me, see now, I've got a bad hair day going on. And got a bad hair day going on, and my normal haircut that I do for myself, because I'm about trying to, I don't want to pay somebody to have a same day off. Well, the other day, I was doing that and had a nervous twitch and just sliced the dog out of my head. And so I'm trying to, not trying to be discreet about it. You can say a Band-Aid's being discreet. But, so.
Transparency, Chief.
So when we purchased the Grisso with two different sets of figures, totaling one full amount. We purchased for $1.4 million, with also including for furniture and other items along, we spent $180,000. So it was $1.58 million is what we spent for the Grisso Mansion initially. We got that loan from the Citizens Potawatomi Nation. They're the ones who provided the loan for us to be able to operate that. All right. So that loan payment that was for the Grisso Mansion at that time was $10,233.22. That's how much a monthly loan payment was for that loan. Now the Seminole Nation made that payment for a time period, a couple of years, I'd say a couple of years in regards to that. And then CINDOC, Seminole Nation Division of Commerce, come in and paid from about 2014 to about 2016. They paid $10,233.22. All right. So in that time frame, which in August 12th, we bought the Grisso Mansion. Tribal Resolution 2014-40, we established, the council established the Grisso Mansion Enterprises. And that was established on June 7th, 2014. So in that time frame, when they created their Grisso Mansion Enterprises, they operated at LLC. In 2016-108, the council approved the Grisso Mansion Enterprises to refinance the loan. So they refinanced the loan through Oklahoma State Bank. In refinancing the loan, through their survey that they had on the property at the time that they did that, they brought the loan to 1.68 plus an additional $130,000. So it brought the total loan to $1.8 million. So we had So then, once that was approved for the refinance, they refinanced the loan. It made their payment the first 15 months interest free. It was like $74.95 a month payment for that refinance. After the 15 months, then it was somewhere close to about $11,900 for that monthly payment. Okay, now in between 14 and 16, probably not in between, but about 2016, they established the Seminole Nation Vineyard and Winery. Okay. The Seminole Nation Vineyard and Winery was established on 4 acres of land. I'd say approximately about 4 acres of land is what it sits on. All right. They were allowed, they created their own business through the Crystal Mansion Enterprises LLC. In doing that, to create and help their business, they had to go and get a loan themselves. They used Rural Enterprises Incorporated to fund the loan. And they're out of Durant. They funded that loan. They gave us a loan to the vineyard through the Crystal Mansion for $320,000. Right? Now, in order to do that, here's the kicker. You can tell that our heater works, which I'm very glad for that. But the loan was $320,000 to REI. All right. We had 10 acres of land that we had bought and paid for $110,000. Now, I'll repeat. Can y'all hear me now? Take one. Thank you, sir. We had the loan through REI for $320,000. All right. We had to use the 10 acres of land that we had paid $110,000 for as collateral to support the loan. Okay, now they're doing their job. Matter of fact, we have some growers here that have been working very diligently to be able to pursue contracting to grow grapes. And I know that they have been pursuing that and been doing that to this point. The problem is, same way with the Grisso, same way with the Seminole Nation Vineyard and Winery, is that we took out that $320,000 loan. We have used collateral for 10 acres of land to support it, to get it. All right. Now, we're not able to make the payment. All right. So we can't, the vineyard and winery can't make the payment on the $320,000 loan. All right. Now the Grisso Mansion can't make their payment. Yes, ma'am. I want to say it's about $2,200 a month. So the Grisso Mansion is not able to make their payment on their loan as well. All right. The kicker here is, though, all right, let's do the math. If we have got a loan out there for $320,000, and then we have 10 acres of land that we put up as collateral, and it costs us $110,000, all right, and we can't cover our loan, all right. Now, they have filed a suit, REI filed a suit on the Grisso Mansion LLC for lack of payment and not able to get in contact with them. for whatever reason. But at the end of the day, if we pay that loan off, because we have already made initial payments to them, we made a payment approved by the council for $13,000 to catch it up to par. But if we pay that whole thing off, don't do anything with it, we'll have paid $430,000 for 10 acres of land. So I just wanted to share that with y'all so that y'all have an understanding of what has taken place or what could take place with that. Because we have to be very careful about that and how we address that moving forward on what we might want to do. Because there are some decisions that has to be made with that. If we decide to pay it off, that's how much we're going to keep. We'll keep the 10 acres of land, but it's going to cost us $430,000 to do it. All right. Yes, ma'am. For the Grisso? Yeah, because what they did is that when everything was in Seminole Nation of Oklahoma's name, and when they approved the refinance, I really don't know at that particular junction because the payment was being made to the Potawatomi Nation. Well, the 1.8, when they did the survey on the property surveyed out at $1.8 million. That was the reason for that. No, it went into the loan. I don't know what they did with the money, because when they did the $1.8 million loan, it was 1.68 plus 130,000, and those two combined come up to $1.8 million. And when they had the survey done on the property to do the refinance, that's what the value of the property come up to, and that's why the loan it's the way it is. So we have the Seminole Nation Vineyard and Winery that we have to look at as a whole. And then we also have to look at the Grisso Mansion as well. Because the Seminole, the council approved to give us the right to negotiate for the sale of the Grisso Mansion. All right. So in that meantime, the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma will have to pay that monthly bill in order to keep that running. Also, I want to share this with you too as well, because this becomes a serious liability. Because they haven't for a long time, nor have we had really open discussion with them on a regular basis about that entity. Because we have not had insurance on that property. And if something were to happen to somebody in that time frame there, that would be detrimental to the Seminole Nation. And we need to be as a whole, we need to be very careful and mindful of that. But I just wanted to share that with you. And the Grisso has been able to accomplish, when they did their business plan, and they tried to follow their business plan to what they were trying to do. They were awarded a USDA grant of $200,000. All right. Now that $200,000 grant that was awarded was to establish the garage, to do a build out of the garage. All right. It was to put in a kitchen, put in 2 bathrooms, and to create like a bistro to use as far as generating revenue for the Grisso Mansion. All right. The $200,000 grant, it hasn't been completed as such, as far as the requirements of what is to take place, because the garage has been gutted. It's like been gutted, and nothing has been completed as far as what is stated to be accomplished by using the grant. And it also was used to provide for staffing too. So that $200,000 went for employee staffing, and then I guess a little bit maybe of the clearing out of the garage, but there's a remaining balance that is attached to that. And then also I want y'all to be aware of that there is, for the vineyard and winery, there's an Anna Seeds grant. All right. The Anna Seeds grant that is being used to support employees to work at the vineyard. This is the last year of that. It will come due at the end of this year. And so I believe that grant supplies to employees to work at the Seminole Nation Vineyard and Winery. And so that will come due at the end of this fiscal year. And then that will no longer be as far as an opportunity for that grant. I think that was all that I... And also, I want to share this with you too, so that you have an understanding here, because there was some things that transpired just recently. When Chadi, when you asked about the refinance and what the purpose was in that, all right. When they did the refinance, that was in 2016-108. That was the resolution. That was that approved this. All right. This resolution that was approved to give fee title property over to the Grissom Mansion LLC. That's what it was intended to do. All right. That just took the Seminole Nation, so to speak, out of play of this to this point. All right. The paperwork was approved through the resolution, but none of the documentations have been completed in regards to that. So the Grissom Mansion is we still pay property taxes on that. I'd say roughly $15,000 a year for the Grissom Mansion that we've been paying on out of the general fund to be able to accommodate that. So that's been, I'd say, roughly $15,000, 5 years, that'd be $75,000. Okay. But it should have, based on the resolution, it should have been completed in process, but it had not been. Nothing had been done on it. So it still shows that the property is underneath the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. All right. In doing that, we knew that this decision to negotiate the sale of the property, we wanted to go in and have an inventory done of the location. So we went in to have an inventory done of the location, which caused a major problem for us to go into the property and just do an inventory checklist. So we had a problem with it, had an issue, but we still were able to get some inventory checked and everything, and to get an idea. Because in 2014, there was an auction done, to auction off some things, and there were some surpluses that were handled. But after that, there was an inventory drawn down on the Grissom Mansion by the property office out of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. And all we were doing was just trying to check the inventory, no big deal. But it became a big issue. So, had some major things go on. We ran an inventory. There has been some questioned items at this point that we still need to pursue and look at to verify for a factual basis that some items are not there. And so there are those question costs we are looking into to confirm and make sure that if there are some items missing, whatever those items might be, that we can have an idea of what it is. And then we can address the issue. Yes, sir, Rodney.
Before Elaine, when you make reference to the grants, is there a
on the aniseeds, that one's, if we sold the, without going any further, there could be a chance that we might have to pay some of it back. But they've already given us the money to be able to operate out of the aniseeds. We'll go through this year with aniseeds. But as far as anything, I mean,
I know there's usually a certain percentage that's used for administrative.
yes.
But then I know that some of the grants after a period of time, then you can basically do what you want to. With whatever, when you're spending money on it, and you see that panic filling with billions, and nothing's being done there, that's what I was kind of wondering, is that a default, that we consider a default on our part, or not?
Complying.
Yeah.
We have the money, but the problem is that they don't have, when they gave $200,000 grant to us to do that, they didn't budget it in right to be able to complete whatever project they needed to have to begin with, because there was like $70,000 for supplies, one employee that we paid $26,000 for as a development officer. And then we had some other things that come out, like $100,000. Well, there's not enough money to do the build out like they were stating that grant was intended for from the get-go. And so really, I mean, we didn't have an opportunity really to win with that by the way that they wrote that out. And we would never get it completed because the build out of that building is it's 2,400 square foot garage. I mean, it would cost us $200,000 just to have that directly for that, to be able to do that. But to answer your question, I don't think we have the money, and if we didn't do anything with it, we just have to get back the money, and they probably wouldn't ask us to get back that money because it has performed some of its duties, but not all of the duties that's required because there's a shortfall. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on Craigslist, second paragraph, it says the purchaser of this property will also have the first option to purchase 2 licensed and operating vineyards with a 600 assured robust vine. So I'm assuming that this is going to be the vineyard.
It's probably just what they're talking about in regards to what's next door.
Well, it says over 600 maturing.
No, it shouldn't be that. Because you're in a contractual, that would be talking about the contractual agreements for the vines. Unless they're talking about the 10 acres, unless they're talking about that 4 acres out there at the,
Well, I'm assuming that it's talking about 10 acres. And if it is, then that's the vineyard. And if it's the vineyard, then that's the federal funding, and you can't sell that until after the 3 years of the closing grant.
okay.
Unless you pay back
Close.
$50,000 per year of that grant.
Close of what grant is that, by the way, Charlie?
That's that A&A.
Oh, the aniseeds? Because this is the last year of the aniseeds grant.
We're gonna have to wait 3 years after.
After that? Okay. No, I appreciate you sharing that with me because that's what this is here for, because you're contractual, because in what we talked about just before we came in, because I was concerned about the contractual agreement, because when I looked at the lawsuit that was brought forth on the vineyard, which you wouldn't have known about this, but it says all contractual agreements. It states all contractual agreements are involved with that lawsuit. Well, that's y'all. Well, your contractual agreement was with the vineyard and winery. Now, we have to be clear on that. And when I looked at the language in your contracts, it shows that y'all have that you shouldn't be binded by any contractual agreement elsewhere. So I'm thinking that you're pretty good there.
You know, we're on our 3rd, 4th year growers, and y'all are not giving the vineyard people enough time to produce. Or grape, you sell back to the winery, so not a vineyard winery, you even be able to produce.
Right.
You know, I understand where y'all are coming from,
Right. Well, no, that's exactly, no, I agree. No, when you went into this and you did this initially, that would be a concern of mine. I can promise you right now, as we're sitting, I know what your concern is now, but that would have been my concern back then.
And that's where I was coming from last year. I had 500 pounds of grapes, nowhere to take them to crush them.
Process them.
And I was letting the cotton. Because dissemination wasn't up and running like they were supposed to be.
Well, you're talking about the vineyard.
The vineyard,
Yeah, the vineyard. When you say that, yeah, the vineyard.
yes. You know, y'all had some equipment that I could send you.
Yeah, and seeing, and they're,
Equipment that now.
and
Frustrated.
no, I remember your email. Yes, sir.
Information wise, okay?
Uh-huh.
Who is your number one?
Oh, yeah, yes.
I would like to know.
I'm Charlie Watkins. I'm a member of the Ocheesy Band.
And
Yeah.
are you an employee of the nation?
No, I've got 27 years with the federal government. I worked 12 years with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, 6 years with OST, and I retired with the McAllister Army Ammunition Plant. And I have 959 acres of vines. The dissemination has helped me put up.
See, something like that, the people of the nation never knew that anyone outside of the 10 acres that we're talking about had grapes growing on their so-called property. And it's good to know you had so many years and you're going back up and that is, I'm a retired federal officer. But anyway,
Yes, sir, Mr. Roger.
Sir, can I ask you who you are?
on your, let's see, I'm General Counsel Representative for the Tallahassee Band.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, on your announcement, you said you saw something on Craigslist about a winery.
Yes,
Those are two different properties.
this is Rizzo.
Yeah, that's two different properties. You're confusing, yes ma'am, wait, ma'am. You're confusing the 10 acres on Highway 99 with that little area next to the Risso, because they do have some grapes there.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Right, so
Okay.
to me, you're confusing both properties.
Well, it says it has the option. This property also has the first option to purchase this. So that's why I'm asking.
Well, it's just that little strip of grapes there on the property.
I have 600 vines out there. I don't think so.
I haven't counted them, ma'am, but they're,
The one thing here, and
No, I'm asking for clarification.
well, I'm trying to provide us clarification.
and then when we look at this, Chadi, and I understand exactly where you're coming from on this, and I know you're concerned because,
Clarification that it's not connecting with the front of the vineyard.
no, well, it's not connecting, it's sure not connecting with you, but the vineyard is in a problem right now. I don't know.
I don't know, sir. I just pulled it off.
No, I do not know. No.
So they're doing the summer, the run? I don't know. I just got it with your previous list and I just want clarification. I don't know.
The question that I have in regards to what you're talking about too, talking about the vineyard, it's a very touchy scenario right now anyway. I mean,
That's why I'm here.
yes. No, it's a very touchy scenario. And what I mean by that, all right, let's look at it. You've been working in the government for years, all right? Let's just say, and I've touched base on this, because if we do anything moving forward with this to maintain the vineyard and winery, we're going to have paid $430,000 for 10 acres of land to maintain that, which we've already paid over or almost $9,000 an acre for that land. So we have to be very careful how we move forward with this, because as we're looking at the business now, you're looking at your business inside the business, because you're growing your grapes inside the business to perform that work, and you're being successful at it. The problem is it's taken so long to be able to do that because they didn't look at the plan to lay out the timeline to be able to handle the finances. Because see, when you create a business, let's just look at this real quick. If you create a business and you go out there and you do that, All right, you've got to have 24/7, day and night, all the time, to be able to handle that and develop that business and make that business grow and become what it's supposed to. And in 3 years of doing that, you're going to break even maybe at 3 years, depending if you're lucky and you've chosen the right business to operate. All right, now we selected a business that's very hard to be successful at. Not anything negative against them. We have chosen a very hard business to make work. As you explained, it's taken us a long time to get everything developed, to be able to come in to fruition, to be able to see any monies coming back. That's the thing, is we're not prepared on the other side of this $320,000 loan, $110,000 that we paid, to be able to maintain it, to sustain it, to give you the opportunity to be successful inside that business. And that's where it can possibly catch you. Because I understand you're doing what you're supposed to do on your end, but for some odd reason, this end over here is not fulfilling its obligation. See? And it's leaving you standing. Yes, exactly. And that's the whole dilemma that we have to face when we look at that. Because it's putting you, that's my opinion too, putting you out there. Okay, all right. With that being said, I'm going to talk about, gosh, it's right here. Yes, ma'am.
And my question is, at that time, and I'm assuming the council, whomever got a copy of this, at that time we were $127,114. And I can't figure out why. I know if that was my money, I would keep putting it in it. If that was your money, would you do it? Everybody keeps saying we're for the people. This sure wasn't for the people. So, and I'm going to go back to what responsibility does the council have? None?
Well, they're the ones that...
I mean, that's a lot of questions, but because nobody says anything, council people don't say anything, doesn't come out too much. We don't know what goes on, and now y'all want to,
Well, see,
you know,
this
it's
is
very frustrating.
The thing is here, it's what I stated when I made that first comment, and I was telling about, $11,900 some dollars. That's how much they're going to have to make monthly to pay the loan off.
But we're not going to make it, and we know it. So my question is, why hang on to it? Now,
That's
the
right.
10 acres out on where the highway is, I think that's prime land, if y'all looked at what's out there. But we had no plan, so I guess we'll just pay taxes on it and let it sit. But I can't see keeping the mansion at all.
Well, we have to look, and that was approved. I mean, in the last council meeting, they allowed us, the council approved to allow us to negotiate the sale of the Griswold Mansion. So we know we're there on that. But I just wanted to let y'all be aware of the timelines, what's taking place, what's going on, where we're at, what we're dealing with right now, moving forward.
Okay, the 5 board of directors, who are they?
There. Now,
Who was on the board at the time that made decisions? That's my question.
You had, at the time when it was established, you had J.D. Colbert, you had Dan Boren, you had Leetta Sampson, Sterling Springer, and J.D. Colbert.
Then why hasn't that been put out?
Shane Jett, yep, Shane Jett's
You
one.
know, because it looks like we as Seminole people were on the board and we made stupid decisions.
Well, I mean...
But we need to spread it around.
Well, what we did is that we gave everything over to them in 2016, essentially.
Yeah.
Everything over to them. And they've never had, I'm not trying to get negative or anything. This is just where we stand with it. And we do need to address that because it's going to drain us. period.
Then why continue to develop LLCs?
Of what?
Why does the tribe continue to develop LLCs?
That's a good question. No, I'll address that here in just a sec with you.
No, answer me.
Just to add on to hers, have we checked into what the repercussions of suing those people who are on that LLC? Because that's where the legalities lie. If they made those decisions, I know even at my profession, we have to have insurance because the decisions that we make are personally, financially liable. Have we checked into putting some type of lawsuit against those LLC members? Because you can't just quit and it not be your responsibility. You made those decisions.
No, we do. We do exactly what you just stated. But there's two separate entities here that we're talking about. All right, we're talking about the Grissom Mansion LLC. Then we're talking about the Grissom Mansion property. All right, the LLC is by itself. But the Grissom Mansion is currently, it's why I was clearing up the Seminole tax roll. That is still, even though the resolution went through to give fee title property over to the Grissom Mansion LLC, it was not completed on documentation. So the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma still pays property taxes to the state or to the city for that property. So we still own that property. Now, this is the thing. Now, we're talking about insurance and stuff. Yes, they were responsible. This is the mix and mingle of all this, just like Chotty, because Chotty's getting caught up in this. But we're getting caught up in it too because we were excluded from any major decisions based on this property to be responsible and to be stewards of that property.
Right.
Until now, until there was nobody. See, nobody has been addressing Oklahoma State Bank. Nobody has been addressing REI prior to us getting involved with it because everybody knew about it. Everybody on that side knows about that. REI filed a lawsuit against us. Why do you think they filed a lawsuit against us? Because we would not correspond at all with them. Oklahoma State Bank. Why do you think that they have not worked with them at all as far as the Grissom Mansion? Because they have not addressed the problem head on until now, until they brought it to our table. And we're trying to fix that. And to answer your question, no, we have not addressed them as far as liability. Yes, sir, Rodney.
One thing that I wanted to address, Colleen, that question about the responsibility, for some of those decisions that were made. I want to remind people that whenever they were contemplating on purchasing that mansion, that we circulated petitions of those of our members that didn't want that mansion, and over 300 people signed a petition saying that, no, we don't want that mansion. And yet the council elected to go ahead and buy that mansion without taking it to the bands. Saying that, well, we got to hurry up and do this. It's a great deal, and we have to do it before it goes up for auction, and all of that stuff, excuses. But that's their responsibility for those on the council that elected to do that made that vote. And some of our representatives at that time stood up and objected and said that, these things need to go to our bands. That's the way our government is supposed to be run. And some of them called us names, and said that we wasn't progressive, and, we didn't, this and that, So, today, they're not here probably, But those things, and like she said, there are people that are responsible for that. It's not the whole council. There's some that still speak up in behalf of the people, but there's some that, for whatever reason, they get up and they'll support these kind of things. And even that LLC, that board, we objected to the fact that we didn't want anybody on there that wasn't Seminole, because the fact is that it's no skim off of their nose if that went into default, and that's what happened, and they simply stepped away, and that's what we said then. But, like I said, for whatever reason, that was the first time I know in our history
as Seminole people, that we put people in those decision-making positions that wasn't Seminole. In the past, our council and our people, they said that, only Seminoles will negotiate for Seminoles. That's the way it was, and that's the way, it's been. But those things aren't like that anymore, The council sends people to speak in their behalf, and it shouldn't be that way. And there's always those in the federal government that have said that, since Florida days, that we don't want to negotiate with all of those tribes, Well, that's who we are as a people, And so, and that's how our Constitution came about. But what I'm saying is that that's where that came from our identity as Seminoles, that we speak for ourselves, we negotiate for ourselves, And of course, there's always attorneys that would advise us in these things, but ultimately it was Seminole people that made that decision, and that's what's happening now. The council makes those decisions of putting people in place, and this is what happens. We have to try to figure out, what to do with this, and how to do with it, and we want to do it in the best way that we can, and not placing blame on anybody, but saying that there's people in decision-making positions that are responsible, and they should be held responsible. But
Ninga. Yes, ma'am, Lonnie.
We're talking about the board. Can you hear? The board members. I spoke to one of the board members at the council house that one day, and he didn't care. And I told him then, I said, why do we put people on the board when they don't care? I said, you're a tribal member. You should care what happens to the entities that you're supposed to be an oversight person. And he said, well, it's not me, it's the tribe. And I said, that's what happens usually when the board don't take care of their business. We get in trouble, and then the tribe has to deal with it. So I think that, it's good to have our own tribal members on board, but sometimes they let us down too. And one of the things and one of the problems, and we're going back to council people, we're having a problem with our council representatives. We're having problems, issues, they seem to be making their own, we're a band. You're supposed to be able to go and voice your opinion and, come to a decision, and the majority rules, you vote on it and everything. But that don't seem to be happening. And a lot of other councils, representatives that comes and make their decision on the floor. I understand some of them don't even have quorum. So they're allowed to come and make decisions for people, for their members. So that's the biggest problem we have is we don't have, we don't get our band representatives to come to the meetings, and everybody has their, voice. But a lot of times they say, well, I'll go to my band meeting, but nobody listens. And a lot of them don't want to go. But you're going to have to continue to go so that your band has to listen to you and do your vote that you want on the council floor. So we can talk about this over and over. We've been going through this for a long time. So like I said again, when we get board members on boards, make sure that they're going to be responsible and, do the things that they're supposed to, and they have position. They're responsible. They make it hard on the tribe when they're not responsible. So I just had a little bit of argument with him, and I said, you're a tribal member, you should be concerned. And he said, no, it's up to the tribe. So, sometimes, I would hate to say what I'm going to say, but no, I won't say it. So, but anyway, that's what I saw. I mean, he didn't seem to be concerned. And I had asked before, when do y'all have meetings, on Bristol Mansion? And they would say, whenever we have something to meet on. So that told me they weren't concerned at that time anyway. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to start a gossip session, I guess. But it's not a gossip, this is the truth. Our gracious council stepped up to the plate last meeting and were told that there's no longer a Grisso LLC as of September of last year. Y'all understand that? There is no Grisso LLC as of September of last year. But you know what? Some of y'all need to go to your council reps and look at how your votes came, because they voted by majority to give Grisso LLC $60,000 a quarter. Who are we giving the money to? Ask yourself that question. He's been more than gracious. He hasn't put his foot down and said anything. But I don't have to be gracious like he is. I'm a Seminole. And I'm going to tell y'all straight out, I'm going to give y'all some transparency. If y'all want to see it, I'll give it to you. But I just want to let y'all know that Grisso LLC is defunct since September of last year. And our council, and I say our council because even though they're not my representatives, they still represent me when they stand up and talk. When they vote for me too. And I'm a Seminole, and by God, I think they ought to be asking me things, not going up there and voting for me, telling me that you're going to eat this because I'm stronger than you are. Yeah, you're stronger than I am. You're sitting on the council. I'm proud to say my band has stood strong against this stuff. And so, but I want to let y'all know we're giving $60,000 every quarter to an LLC that is no longer there. They're defunct. They're gone. What he's talking about, possibly looking into things that we need to do, yes, I was the first one to stand up. I'm a band chairman, standing in the back. Rodney and I stood back there and we said some things that were telling people they were unconstitutional. You know what? We almost got thrown out of the council house because we were out of order. I don't think I'm out of order when I speak on behalf of my Constitution and my people. And I don't think Rodney was either. He was perfectly sound in what he had to say. So you that are sitting in here, whether you're having trouble with your bands or your band representatives, take a look at who voted and how they voted at that last council meeting on that $60,000. Because to me, that right there and these charges that are being sent up here are totally asinine. I'll say it straight up. So that's all I've got to say. Mado.
I'm trying to follow the dialogue that you presented, Chief, and trying to understand what's currently going on with the mansion. But we're also tying in the discussion about the vineyard and winery. And I sit there and listen to the lady over on the other side about her concerns. I don't know if she's a grower of a winery or her own grapes. But you know, it would seem to me that before we even, and I'm going to flip back and forth, it seems to me that before we even purchased the mansion, whoever was in the administration at the time, and before a board was ever created and the purchase was ever made, you know, everybody has to have a plan of action, whether it's 6 months, 5 years, 2 years, or whatever it may be. I know timelines can be adjusted. It's just like with the growers. Everybody's property is different. Everybody's vines are not going to grow the same. Their grapes are not going to be all produced at the same time. There's going to be problems that occur. But yet my concern is for not only the growers is, does the vineyard and winery have a board? I mean, we're talking about non-existent LLC, money's being generated to them. How about the vineyard and winery? Where do they stand? Is there a board for them? I don't even know how many growers we have. Are we saying that the growers are going to be just dumped from the vineyard and winery based on their concerns? How do those get addressed? And if she says there's no place to send her grapes, it would seem to me that if they have a contract, I don't know the legality or the liabilities they have with the vineyard or winery, but it would seem that they could go and sell their grapes to other entities where there may be a need.
That's, well, yes, just a second.
there used to be a board, but when things got hot, they all scattered. They quit. So there's no longer a growers board. And the way I understand it, because I asked questions, the Grissom is connected to the, used to be a winery, LLC, and the Chickasaw, because I used to work for the Chickasaw. The Seminole Nation. There's a Seminole Nation. Yeah, and then there's the LLC. There's like two entities that connect with the Grissom. Okay. And how that's connected was the Grissom used their money and also helped this is right. They used to help pay some of the vineyard costs.
Yes.
That's how they're kind of tied together. Is that right?
Yeah, let me interject here. Yes. What's taking place is that you got the Grissom Mansion LLC. All right, they're the one that's the entity in itself. Then you have a subsidiary of the Grissom Mansion LLC. The vineyard and winery is a subsidiary of the Grissom Mansion LLC. So anytime that the vineyard needed help, the Grissom, whatever it is, through based on their loans and the money that they received, they tried to help the vineyard. But as you can tell, the vineyard started, there was no money on the backside, same way the Grissom Mansion. So that's where we're standing right now. Now going back, so that answers what Shawty's talking about, because they're a subsidiary of Grissom Mansion LLC, and they provided some funding to them to be able to support them. Not enough there to be able to do that. To answer your question though that you asked, yes, they can. Once their contractual agreement is done, fulfilled, they can go out and if they're doing great, if they're doing great like that, and they want to do that, yes, they're more than welcome to go to find a supplier that can provide that for them to be able to do that, to be able to, yes.
But also, we were told that the Seminole Nation would purchase our grapes first. That was our key, that while we got started, was to help them with the winery. That was the very intent, was to help the Seminole Nation to get started. That's the only reason that we got started in the first place, was to help the Seminole Nation.
Okay.
I'd like to know how many people here that's starting with.
Can you raise your hand? Can you raise your hand real quick if you're a grower? We have two.
There's actually 28 growers.
So we got two here.
Yeah.
You're the first one. Yeah, we're 1 year growers. They're 4-year growers, 4 years, there's 28 growers. But we signed a contract with the Seminole Nation.
Chief, whenever she says the Seminole Nation, you're referring to the winery.
We actually signed a nation with the Seminole Nation, and I don't know,
I don't know, that's, I'm a little bit,
Because that winery or none of those people, they have no authority to speak on behalf of the nation. And, that's what I'm saying, you know, if that document says Seminole Nation, then they have no authority to obligate this nation to anything.
I'm a little bit confused on that in regards to, because that would have to be, that's just like what Mr. Factor's talking about, because it would have to be addressed through a decision by them to approve that. Now, it could be in verbiage.
it had to go through the Seminole
We need to,
Nation
we need to
with
sit,
the attorneys.
okay, we need to sit down and visit, Charlie. I mean, because what you're bringing up here is some other stuff, that's legalities that we need to sit down and talk
But
about.
it had to go through all finances to be able to get paid.
Maybe they didn't see it as a grant.
No, it was a stipend.
That's what I mean, that's where it would come from then. Because in that grant and that, the stipends and everything would come through, it's gonna be paid through that.
But any
Yeah, we got a lot of ground to cover, Chief.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna step on into the other area that I want to talk about. And before I go any further here, because none of this is to be a negative, this is to be a positive, it's just to discuss these measures. Nothing whatsoever is to be a negative out of this, all right? But I want to put a disclaimer out there before I go any further with this, that this does not, what I'm bringing up, these allegations, does not represent the whole general council as a whole. So I want that to be clear. Yes?
On the general council, do they act, for acting for the system?
No, it's just to negotiate, and I'll have that'll have to come back to the council for that. Yeah, in regards to that. But I want to go through this, and I'm gonna go through and just discuss these allegations and let you know what's taking place as we move forward. All right, so I believe most of y'all have this. I'm going to kind of read this because I want y'all to be aware of this. And we're going to move along with this as well. This was presented to me at the last council meeting. We were in council, and they got up, an individual got up, and had come forward and come up to me and had handed it to me, wanting me to set a meeting in regards to this paper, the allegations that he's proposed in this. It says, to the best of our knowledge and belief of the General Council of Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, your failure to uphold the laws and regulations of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, failure to carry out the responsibilities of office, gross neglect of duties, misconduct reflecting on the dignity and integrity of the General Council of the Seminole Nation, in violation of your constitutional oath to faithfully execute the duties of your office, calls into question your capability to carry out your responsibilities in the position of the principal chief of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, and cause for your removal from office pursuant to the Constitution of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. You shall have 10 days from the date of receipt of this letter to answer the General Council in writing to the violations set forth herein. Pursuant to the Constitution, the General Council of the Seminole Nation, in the name of itself and all of the people of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, brings forth written violations for removal against you for your removal from office of the following violations pursuant to Attorney General Opinion 2018-02 dated May 30th, 2018, and current additional violations set forth herein are grounds for removal. Now, I want to go back and I want to be very clear about this. This was not brought forth by the General Council as a whole. All right? What I just read just there should be, a little unnerving in my opinion, because they represented the General Council as a whole. And not only that, in this, they represented all of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. So seriously. Okay. I'm going to say, they say violation number 1. In his conduct of the office of principal chief, real quick so that you understand this too. All right, let's go into the Constitution. Let's look at the Constitution. The Constitution does not reflect me as principal chief. The Constitution reflects me in language as chief of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. They reference in this, in their allegations against me, as a violation of the Constitution because they reflect me as principal chief of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, Gregory P. Chilcote, in violation of his constitutional oath that goes back to what I just kind of read up there at the beginning. So that kind of goes into that. Violation number 2, that principal chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by attempting to delegate authority of the executive office to Treasurer Kyle Fasucci Cootie during a term of absence as opposed to Assistant Chief Johnson constitutes grounds for removal. That was just, I stepped out, I asked Mr. Cootie to step him a place in the time period because he's third in line. So all that was no big deal, wasn't anything that was a major problem. in looking at this. It was just an easy transition, nothing personal, nothing professional, other than we just needed somebody to cover it, and I just asked him to do that, and that was it. Okay. Next one. Violation number 3. The Principal Chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by administering the oath of office to Tom Palmer Band Representative Kelsey Morrell prior to the certification of Ms. Morrell's eligibility for office by the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma Election Board. Said act of the Principal Chief demonstrates his disregard for the laws of the Seminole Nation and the intentional violation thereof constitutes grounds for removal from office. No, it was not intentional. My violation was not intentional in regards to this scenario. I understood that it could be completed. The certification, she was once certified in regards to that. Ms. Johnson and I both have discussed that and talked about that in the past. So I understood that her to be certified, her to pay her $15, read the code, Title 10 code, that reaches in between an election year, that if somebody steps out for whatever reason in between election year, there's a process based on our code that you can step in between once you're nominated. $15 administrative fee, and you need to be certified or not certified, whatever that might be, by the election board. That particular junction understood it to be certified. So I went to Cedar at that particular time. They're saying that I intentionally violated that, and I did not intentionally violate that, if that was a violation. Number 4.
Yeah.
Principal Chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by appointing Lisa Empson to a position as staff attorney without following the established employment law and procedures within the nation constitutes grounds for removal from office. Appointing a staff attorney that we have a budgeted line in at that time, a budget for staff attorney. All right, she's our attorney. All right? I wanted to have somebody in there that I could trust to do what we needed to have done to protect the nation inside, because we've never had an attorney that I know of inside to help us with procurement, with IT, with our county, any of those questions that they might have. So I brought her in. And I brought her in, but they said that I didn't open it up to the general public for an attorney's position. So what I did is that we made an adjustment with her. Then I opened it back up because we had a fallout. We had a fallout with that position. So I opened it up to the general public and then brought her back in the right way, I guess. And so we moved forward with that. That's how we corrected that issue. So she's now on. It was opened up and handled. Violation number 5. The Principal Chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by failing to properly address a request to add other business to the agenda at the March 2018 General Council meeting constitutes grounds for removal from office. On the agenda, there's nothing on the agenda technically that you're supposed to have other business on the agenda. In past, we have. In our Constitution, it doesn't discuss on our order to have other business on there. All right? If we have other business, technically how it's supposed to work is that if there is an emergency for an item not on the agenda, then the council has to approve that it's an emergency. But they said a request. It wasn't determined an emergency. Violation 6. The Principal Chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by purporting to terminate the services of the former Attorney General Mike McBride constitutes grounds for his removal from office. All right, and I'm going to share something here with you as well, because here we go. This bothers me because we're not have any financial means whatsoever to be doing this. This law firm charged us $540,000, $560,000, $640,000 respectively each year, and did not have our backs. All right? So with that being said, what took place that day as the reason why for this is because the council meeting before, the council did not approve his contract to extend it. All right? His contract come due May 31st. There was an email sent out prior to that I saw stating that he was going to resign on June 2nd after the meeting. I'm going to go a little bit with Rodney on this about saying that, about talking about you can't talk. I'm defending the Seminole Nation because he is no longer our Attorney General. And you're not going to dictate to us that this is your last day without something being said. So I sent an email out telling him that his services were no longer required at that particular meeting because his contract was done May 31st. Our council meeting was June 2nd. All right? So I wasn't going to let him in. All right? So I sent out a letter. That's why I got that. All right? The next one. See, the principal chief violated laws of Seminole Nation by failing to hold a mandatory June quarterly general council meeting, specifically calling a roll when a quorum was present constitutes grounds for removal. All right? To let you have an idea, when I sent out that letter, all right, I knew that probably more than likely Mr. McBride was going to be there at the council meeting on Saturday. I asked the light horse if he was going to show up, that he is not our Attorney General, and you detained him outside. I asked him to detain him, and they did. So I'm sitting up here at the council at the desk. At 10 o'clock, I have two people standing in front of me, on me, about not letting him in, from 10 o'clock to 10:30. About how I should let him in, I don't have the right to do that, blah, 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 and this, and this, and this. So we get into a discussion, and I'm very cordial with them, because it was wanting to get personal. But it's not there to get personal. That has nothing to do with personal stuff. That has to be personal because this guy was taking us to the bank. And we don't have, it shouldn't have worked, and it didn't work. But, so 10 o'clock, the agenda states at 10 o'clock we were to call roll. At 10 o'clock, they were standing in front of me, on me, we were just discussing, talking about all this at 10 o'clock. No roll call was made. They're there in front of me till 10:30. At 10:30, about 10:30, they get up, a group of them get up and go to the back. Stand back to the council house. All right? At 10:30, that's when you do your second roll call if you don't have enough to do the roll call the first time. Well, they got up and walked to the back. We'd already had a discussion and everything, and it was going south fast. So at that particular junction, because we're through the second roll call, if we would have followed the timeline right, I just made a decision to go ahead and adjourn. We hadn't even called the meeting to order, but I went on ahead and adjourned the meeting. And that's why that's down. And I wanted to explain that to you guys in regards to that. Violation number 8. Principal Chief Chilcote violated laws of Seminole Nation by barring the Attorney General from entering the Council House building at the scheduled June quarterly General Council meeting with coercion from several Seminole Nation light horse law enforcement officers constitutes grounds for removal. I explained that one, and that's why I did what I did on that. And I wouldn't, if they did it again like that, I'd do it again. Sorry. Oh, absolutely not. And he does not carry, he doesn't have a drop of blood. And he does not have our bags. That's the bottom line. Okay. Violation number 9. Principal Chief Chilcote violated the laws of Seminole Nation by his failure to comply with the Constitution of Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, codes of laws, and resolutions enacted by the members of the General Council. Has seriously jeopardized the provisions of program services to the people, compliance with federal regulatory requirements, and good standing with creditors for failure to submit the 2017 single audit report before June 30th, 2018, and SF 425's federal financial reports as required. That has ultimately resulted in the Bureau of BIA Eastern Oklahoma Regional Office to impose a level 1 sanction during full year 2019. Effective October 1st, 2018, for failure to meet statutory and regulatory requirements for annual submission of single audit reports constitutes grounds for removal. Okay, what took place there? When I first came in, we had some transitions that took place. We had a controller that was there at first for a little while, and then she left. And then I bring in another individual to represent us in that controller's position. All right, so she represents us in that controller's position, and just before the 6:30 deadline to have our audit completed, it wasn't long before that, she resigns her position. So we're not anywhere close to having our audit done or audit paperwork completed. So once she did that, that threw us into a tailspin. So now we're behind on our timeline. So BIA, which we're very familiar with these sanctions, because I know in past we've been sanctioned before. So we had to go with the BIA for a sanction 1 level. All right, that's going to be the easiest level of sanctions. So what we did in the meantime is that I contracted out services to Red Oak accounting firm to come in and help us get through the 2017 audit. And they have. They've completed the audit, and now we're able, and done the 425s, so we've got the 2017 audit completed. Now what we're doing, because the timeline held so long, is that we have the 2018 audit that has got to be completed by 6:30 again this year. So they're working on that to keep us moving in that direction. So we've got a hold on it. We're no longer in the sanction 1 level. That's been taken care of. But that's what happened. That's why we got into problems, because our controller resigned, and it threw us into a tailspin doing that. Because it's going to show up here again, something else in just a sec. Number 10. Principal Chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by failure to provide financial reports at the quarterly General Council meeting by withholding the Treasurer's required financial report of cumulative receipts, disbursements, and cash balance on hand at each bank for all accounts constitutes grounds for removal. All right. There's one thing I want y'all to understand, just so that you have an idea. Because you don't know this, you don't see this, you don't have any idea about this. It's all good, all right? Everybody believes that everything that's going on in this nation is all good. That's why we've always been told it's all good, all right? That we don't got to worry about anything. We don't have a price to pay for any of this, because we just do what we do, because if somebody says we need to pay $10,000, it doesn't matter where it goes, because it's all good. Well, do we pay on it? All right? When I came into office and Kyle came into office, we couldn't make a payment 1. Seriously, we didn't know, come here from Sikkim, about where money was at, where money is going, how many bills are being held and maintained and detained to be able to get money to be able to make that payment. A simple payment. And we can't live like that. We need to be able to have enough money to be able to operate so that we can function properly, so I can keep the headaches off of him. There's a lot of problems and a lot of things that come across debt that people are not aware of. And how to manage the money. Not just the treasury, because we went into some discussions yesterday that people don't have an idea about all the transitions, how the money moves, and how important that is. But they said that, so when I came in and Kyle came in, my first plan was that we need to get a hold of how we operate. We need to look to cut back on our benefits, on what we pay out on all our bills, all our insurance, all of that. We had to look at that. Vehicle insurance, how are we going to reduce that back to give Kyle some room to be able to work and to take care of the billing properly. And that's what we were trying to do. So at the beginning, I didn't tell him to do that, because I told him not to do that. The reason why, so that we could get legitimate numbers and we have legitimate idea about what financials that we have. so that we don't send something out that's just wonky. And so he has been doing the treasury reports, sending in reports now. And I will I'll tell you this, my goal in the 4 years, I want y'all all to have financial reports of how the nation is doing. All of y'all. Y'all have the right to know what our financial reports are and how we're operating. I would like for that to be done. I think it's important that we do that. And so that's what we're working on. That's what we're trying to do, but but Kyle is putting quarterly reports together and sending them out so that they can be seen. Because before, that wasn't happening before us. I can promise you it wasn't. Number 11. The principal chief violated the laws of Seminole Nation by failure to include any new business at the last regular quarterly general council meeting, September 1, 2018, which is also known as the annual meeting. Only enterprise agency principal chiefs or reports were given. No required business for the nation was conducted at this meeting. Constitutes grounds for removal. I'm not the legislative body. I don't have to draw up that order. Whatever is brought to me, I can't include what I need to do on that. But it's the legislative body that creates the laws, it creates the changes, it creates those things. I'm just, at that particular junction, when I'm there, I'm the chairman. I'm not the chief of the Seminole Nation when I'm in that room. I'm the chairman over that particular deal. Anything that's brought as far as bills, changes, whatnot, should come from the legislative body. Chief Chilcote, number 12. Chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by his failure to process 2018 budget mods by the most quarterly general council meeting. When I made a comment earlier about a change, we've had a change in our budget officer. All right. We had Shirley Timmons, who was the budget officer for a short period of time. She decided to resign as well. So now we had some time without a budget officer, and then Larry Factor is now our budget officer. And so in that time frame, nobody showed up, or nobody was there to do that. So there would have been some lack of budget modifications. So I'm not, but that would be the one thing I can relate to that, is that we didn't have anybody in to do some of the budget modifications for 2018. Violation number 13, that Chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by his failure to present FY 2019 comprehensive budget for approval by the General Council by the most recent quarterly General Council meeting. Now, it's been brought before them to look at the comprehensive budget. The General Council at this point has not approved it. They have done 2/12 of the budget continuations all the way through. They have had an opportunity to look at it. They've not made any decision on it. So I don't know why that one specifically there. Number 14, that Chief Chilcote violated the laws of the Seminole Nation by his failure to comply with the General Council's directive to make appointments for the Seminole Nation Personnel Board for review and confirmation before the scheduled June 2nd, 2018 General Council meeting, pursuant to the passage of Tribal Resolution 2018-35. What they're asking me to do on that is that, the way they wrote it up, it's kind of a, well, yeah, it is. It is, because they're talking about law and then they're talking about tribal resolution, a directive. But what takes place, and I believe it's Title 11, the ERC, there's a personnel board. Personnel board has been built in. Personnel board is to, have oversight of like human resources type, human resource policies and procedures, activities of the nation, that type of thing. But back when that was established, we now have a human resources department within the nation. So it kind of duplicates itself and causes kind of a conflict on how we operate there, because we do have HR policies. But what they're asking me to do is that there have been a personnel board in place. And these personnel board members are, have termed out. And they're asking me to do, or to fill them in. And that's why that's there, is that, I don't, so with that being said, but it's not a law like that, as far as that tribal resolution 2018-35. Okay. Using the powers of the office of chief, which that's correct, of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, you, Gregory P. Chilcote, have repeatedly engaged in conduct violating the constitutional rights of citizens, impairing the due and proper administration of justice in the conduct of lawful inquiries, or contravening the laws governing agencies of the executive branch and the purpose of these agencies. This conduct has included the above-cited violations, number 1 through 14. Therefore, you, Gregory P. Chilcote, have acted in a manner contrary to your trust as chief and subservice of constitutional government, to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice, and to the manifest injury of the people of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. Wherefore, you, Gregory P. Chilcote, by such conduct warrant a trial and removal from office. I'm okay. I'm real quick, and I'll come with you, sir. But I'm going to go back one other area here, because this has happened a couple of times. This isn't the first time that this is brought forth. So that you guys understand this, there's been 5 different people, or 5 people, 5 one group, 5 the next. The first group, they did an investigation on me that was set up May 30th, 2018. All right? May 30th, 2018, that cost the nation $27,800. Now, when we go back to the beginning of this letter that they're representing the council, the whole council, all right, and the people of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, they caused us to have to pay $27,800 for that, for those allegations to be investigated. Okay? Now, on that first one, you had down Mr. Timothy Hooper as a representative who signed it, Mr. Thomas Yahola, Nancy Pixico, Ida Gonzalez, and Karen Fulbright. Now, that investigation cost us $27,800. All right? Now, these allegations here, which are similar in allegations, there's 5 individuals that have signed this that has stated, I'll be with you, Lottie, that have stated that same thing in this. And that language that I read, they're representing the whole council, which they are not representing the whole council. They're representing the few. We have Mr. John Narkamy, Nancy Pixico, Ida Gonzalez, Thomas Yahola, and Karen Fulbright to list on the second letter to be handed out. So I just want y'all to know that this letter states they're representing the whole and all of the people of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. But I just don't think that it's right that they state that. Yes, oh no, Lottie, let me go, Lottie. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Number 1, Chief Chilcote. We're not alike, okay? I'll speak with positive words. I'll tell you like it is, okay? Number 1, these so-called allegations that you received, and they call it violation. If you are smarter, you look at law school and say that all there. Under the model penal code, violation is not a crime. You've got to understand that. Not only that, the name that he's got to give it, okay? Under the First Amendment, okay? Freedom of speech, religion, and press. You've got a right to bring out those names. And not only that, everything they said against him, if you want to go against him and all that, under the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, okay? It's called Equal Protection Clause. He can use that to defend himself. Now, this is like that at the end of the law, okay? The 5 people that were missed the first time and the second time, there's been a flip flop. One man that was on there the first time, stepped down, another man, replaced him, okay? All these so-called violations and allegations should be turned around and went against them people. Honest God truth, in order for the nation to move forward with this chief and the treasurer that we have, we need to listen to them, we need to back them up and go with it. The people that we have on the council today, they are so weak. All they think about is the past. Past is gone, okay? Let's look for the future. The president we're at today, they don't look at it that way. Everything in the past, they want to use it. How many chiefs have you seen in the past that has been put like he has, on the floor, being questioned and being intimidated? Not one of them. You know why? Because they've got friends and relatives that have worked together. They have old man down there at the complex. Half of those people are gone today. And this man comes here with business mind. That's how we need to move ahead. You talk about the gristle, you talk about the winery and all that. I first go to people, let's go buy the gristle. Nobody want to listen to me, okay? I'm a big dummy. Turn around, guess who the dummies are? It's those people that sat on the board and know that come to the gristle. As of right now, you own like $1.8 million on the gristle. You want to keep it. But thank the good man up above, okay? The great spirit. I call him life energy, God, okay? He helped me. I put the second resolution in, and we got it. The council approved 16 yes and 12 no. A lot of you do want to vote yes, okay? But they're banned somewhere. Told them they had to, so they did. That's why it's going to be up for sale. Maybe we should have to sell that gristle. We're only going to sell it for about around anywhere from $500,000 to $750,000, okay? Whatever left over, the remains, we're going to want to pay for it out of our money. Seminole Nation, they call it the general fund. And not only that, these last 5 so-called general council reps, okay? That's what I can call them, okay? So-called general council reps, okay? They're the one that costs money to come out of y'all's general fund and pay for the fellow that was here before. He was a millionaire, McBride. When he left, he was a multi-millionaire. We gave him money, $47,800. He should have known that, hey, 25 of y'all are putting claims against the chief and all that. You cannot say council. It's only 5 of them members. But no, he had to put general council. And guess what? They followed the trend. Now they got the council and the people. The people is the power. We're not, okay, general council. We're not the power. Y'all put the words in your mouth for us to bring you out and talk to y'all, okay? Now, I can tell you a lot more and all that, but I know my 5 minutes is up and all that. I ain't going to talk to you and all that, but all for Chilco and for Treasurer, Carl Moody, Carl, they try to put him out, okay? It's sad. One general council lady told Carl, called him up and said that, you don't need to be a treasurer because I cannot even read your handwriting. How many times has that lady went to a doctor and tried to get a prescription signed by a doctor? If she can't read the doctor's work code, she still got no medication. That's how much brains they got up here, okay? I might not be the smartest guy, but I tell you one thing, I ain't the dumbest guy either. But anyway, all this is bogus, it's a bunch of crap. God, I'm glad you got me on the show. I hope he goes to Florida. The man's a good man. He's got business in his hand. The ones we had in the past, they're past. And the last thing I got to say before I sit down is when the chief was up here and he said something about at the end, unfinished business and all that, it used to be like that in the past, okay? Today, they want to fit that in and use that against them. When they use unfinished business, okay, after we get through with the agenda, that's when they stand up and make a verbal motion on a resolution they bring to get it passed by them instead of taking it back to their band. 14 bands. Every band has their own law. They stick with it. Not to come out and tell us or us to help them and all that. Today they fight among one another. A lot of them don't have bands. Some bands got a band chief in another state. Been there like 2 years. So I know that. Other bands, you tell them what to do, they're so hard-headed, okay? They won't listen to their band. And they'll vote the way they want to. You know why they want to vote the way they want to? The Seminole people. What is our mascot? Loser.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. Anyway, I agree with what Charlie is saying, and I hate this, and it's nothing, it's worthless. Our band representative took it upon himself to do this. The band had nothing to do with it, so I just want y'all to know that the band had no discussion whatsoever. We never heard anything about it. I called the other representative, and I asked him, I said, why did y'all presented this violation letter? And he said, I didn't know anything about it. He had folded letter in his hand. He just got up and presented it. So, with that being said, that's why I said, you know, you can talk to your band representative. They don't want to listen, and we haven't done anything. We've been letting it ride, but I hope that next meeting that we have, I will stand up and speak on behalf of the band and what's going on, and it has to be up to the members to do what they can do. So I hope that we can put a stop to things like this, because it does disrupt the tribe going forward. We need to have the voice of us as tribal members. We want to move forward. And I hate to hear other tribal tribes that can say, you know, hey, I'll watch your council meeting. He said, what's going on? That one day, one lady came up to me and she said, hey, Lottie, I'll watch your council meeting. He said, you know what? You got 2 people sleeping in there. I said, what? I mean, it's embarrassing. We have same opportunity as other tribes to move forward and have things. But we fight. Everybody wants to gossip, innuendos. People write opinions and get somebody else to sign their name to it. They don't have the nerve to sign my opinion, it says, but somebody else has got their name on it. And I think that if you have a point of view or opinion, put your name to it, if you're that brave. And I see half of these people that are out there griping and bitching, they're not here. They should be here. I mean, it's sad that we cannot work together and get things done. And I am for Greg. I voted for him 2-3 times. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, but I think that we do need to support him. You know, if somebody comes up to you, as a matter of fact, the other night, I was in a store, somebody came up to me and he said, and this was when the government had to shut down, said, what do you think about furlough? And I said, I don't know what the chief would do, but this is what I would do. And I said, I would lay off few employees to keep few so that the extra money I can use to support the ones that have to remain and do the work. I said, that's what I would do. And so she said, well, you know, we have workers in there that's not doing their job and everything. And I said, well, it seems to me that in the past, there were things going on, nobody said anything. We had past administration that violated a lot of things, nobody said anything. And so I said, well, you know, if you're telling me you had good employees with the past administration, I said, we would be in this position that we're in. So I said, we were, you know, in debt when the new chief came in, and he has to work with that. And that's what people don't understand. A lot of the people that live away from here, they don't know what's going on. They just hear the bad things. They just hear, you know, they're not doing the work, the chief's not doing the work and all that. But, you know, they have to come back and maybe, you know, talk to Greg. Our representative may have personal issue with Greg, but he's not hurting Greg. He's hurting the tribe. And I think that most of us, if we have personal issues, you know, we just got to get over it. And I understand that we have, like, churchgoers, and I got through my life with prayers and everything. So, but I think people out there that's supposed to be church leaders, they're the main ones, gossiping, writing letters, having their opinions put out. That's not how God works. You're supposed to love. You're supposed to forgive. So they said, I don't forgive. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, but that's, I mean, I don't see these leaders of the church go to Greg and say, let's have a prayer today so that we can move forward. I think those are the things that we're lacking in this tribe. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
like you said, that when you're in a council house and that meeting's called to order, then you're the chairman of that meeting, and some of these allegations refer to chief in those particular ones of violations. So those aren't legal. You know, you can't move forward with those. And another thing is it doesn't identify a lot of the dates that took place. But if some of those violations are true, they're true. And if you have reason for whatever you did, like you explained a while ago, we still have laws in place, you know. And the thing is, maybe you should have explained to them that, I admit that, I had to take this action, and for whatever, but I don't see anything there that warrants removal at this time myself. I've been around for a few years, and I know how to remove a chief, I know how it's done. And the thing is that it shouldn't be a personal thing like it is, and the general counsel now is using that forum to bring out their own issues that they have with someone, and that's not right. That's not what it's there for. And like Lottie said, it's up to the bands to stand up and direct them, that's not a personal forum for you, to attack anybody that you don't like. When Wayne made reference to our Constitution a while ago, that Constitution is a people's law. It wasn't put together by the council or administration. That was put in place by the people for those that are making decisions for the people to follow. And they shouldn't be trampling on our Constitution the way they do. That's our law as members. And if we see that happening, then not only do we have a right, we have an obligation to stand up and say that enough is enough. And that's what needs to take place to stop some of that stuff from people using those positions, to advance themselves and their personal feelings. And like you said a while ago on that, what was it, that board that they want to do, that's another personal thing, and kind of like the chief said, I know when a lot of those codes were put in place, then they were needed at that time. Since that time, we've outgrown a lot of those things, and they could be done away with, or it could be modified, some of those boards and committees, and that served as an important position at one time with human resources. Now that take most of those duties over, then we no longer need that, and there's others that, the council needs to look at in doing so, to change some of those things. But like I said, I don't see anything in there worth, removing. If I thought that there was clear intent on your part to do something in behalf of one person or a group of people, then I would tell them how to draft those charges, But I don't see that, and I don't think that they should be wasting our time with this. And I think the majority of the council needs to address that, and the people do. You're new to office, and you didn't know everything coming in, and neither did they. And, people asked me coming up to the election what I thought about you, in that position. And I said, he has an open ear, and someone in that position, that's what we need. Someone that has an open ear that's going to listen to the people and try to do, whatever they need to do. I said, of course, he doesn't know anything. I mean, everything coming into this position, nobody does. But I said that, I think that he has understanding and that he can work together with the council, and maybe make a difference. And so that's why I supported you, and I ask others to support you for that reason. And today I still do support you for that reason. And until I see difference, then like I said, I'll continue to support you, but not those people that are trying to circumvent our laws and our Constitution in order to further their own hate.
I would just like to say that I'm Martha Wynn. I'm a tarot director for the Seminole Nation. I'm a Tezcatlipoca band member. And I just wanted to say that in the efforts of all the violations that were so-called committed, I would just like to say that in each one of these representatives, there's 4 bands here, but you mentioned other bands representatives. I feel like that what needs to happen is if they were voicing their band's opinion, then they should have included their sign-in sheet for their meeting. They should have included minutes saying that the people feel that way so that they could go on. And if that isn't available and if that didn't happen, then they're acting on their own. And if they are, then they're in violation because the only power that they have is when they're convened. And then whenever they are making these statements and accusations and wanting things to be done and going through the Attorney General, I feel like that if we can investigate that and make sure that if they don't have that documentation proving that they were acting on their band's behalf and therefore the Seminole Nation people, then they should be paying this money back themselves. They have no right. They had no right to convene the General Council and vote yes to pay that because that wasn't for us. That wasn't for us. That was for their wants. And I just feel like that's what's been going on. I feel like that our bands really need to start paying attention because there are individuals out there doing what they want to do. And one time our bands was questioned about how it works. It's made up good for the people because there's other tribes that don't have those meetings that take place to get the people's input, but we do. And whether or not the actual representatives are actually doing that or not is another question, but the way the concept was made, it is for our people to be heard. So I feel like that, in reference to all of the allegations, I feel like that we need to turn this back around and investigate them and make sure that they pay it, if out of their stipends or whatever. But I feel like that they need to be the ones paying for this because it wasn't done for us.
Because I'm sitting right here, I'm going to go ahead and cut. So I think that we've listened to all of the elders talk about all the wonderful things and how powerful we are as people and the reasoning behind our legislation and why we do what we do. But coming from new school, what I would like to say is I would like to empower each of us to go to your bands and request that we do a resolution or we do something investigating them. They did not have the authority to obligate $27,000 last time. You know why they did it again? Because there were no repercussions. I'm a mother. I've got 5 children. And I'm telling you right now, they don't learn unless there's a repercussion, unless there's a consequence. There's got to be a consequence. You cannot behave this way without consequence.
Yeah, I want to talk before. And we are new school, excuse me. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about while y'all are here, in 2001, we voted in to have a speaker. And I think that's what we need. Number one, they wouldn't have time from the chief, that chairman, or whatever, and I think Wayne could speak to this, is that then the council would have someone to advocate between the council and the chief. And the other thing I think that the council needs to do is to set up some kind of procedures for initiating resolutions. Because I always said, I can't vote on this. My band didn't see it. Well, if you have a 10-day review to get that resolution in, take it to your band, do whatever, then you'll be able to do it. And I think the council should be business-minded. And I don't mean they say we want business-minded people. The people I've seen, I've never seen them make $250,000 a year. But they put them on there. They put them on there, and I don't know what they do. But also, the council needs to look at all the non-compliance issues that we have. We can charge them. We can charge them. And I think in order to have a really true separation of power, people, we need to separate them. And we don't have it. Aren't y'all tired of it? We voted on those 9 amendments, and I still say it's stupid that the Bureau allowed us to put in things that the tribe didn't vote for. But the things that we voted for, they didn't allow us to put them in. So I would say, council or whoever, try to get your council people to go back. Do the amendments, set a time frame. Let's don't go 4 years trying to amend the Constitution. But I'm just, do planning committees, do something. That way, when you get up, if she gets up, I'm going to say the same thing she said. We passed it over here. 15 people say the same thing. We don't need it. We don't need it. I can understand English. Anyway, thank you.
Things that they can commit the nation to and the council itself. And I would ask that at your next band meeting, have your band chief bring a copy of that for each of the members and review that. Because it states what, their limitations are and what the consequences are for those that fail to meet their full obligation and abide by our code of law. And that's just something I feel like we need to do. The second thing that I want to say is, I don't know how many of you have read this May 30th letter from the Pro and Dunlevy office, but I've probably read this thing, I cannot count how many times. It's over a dozen. I have yet to find anywhere in there where he said that our chief did anything criminal. And, and back on these pages, he lists some of these actions are moot now because they've been released. But even he lists in his own words that remedial action just needs to take place on these things that were remaining. I mean, he didn't find anything wrong. And this is not just to take up for you. This is our whole nation. This is for everybody in here. And the 18,000 that there are of us. I mean, we've got to start protecting our nation and take it out of the hands of a few. And it has to start today if that's the case. But, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm fed up with it. We have to start today in our bands, and you have to get these youth who are their inheritors of what we will leave them, because we all inherited this nation from someone. And we've got to start giving them something that they can be proud of and would want to participate in, because that's why they're leaving. That's why we don't see that many of them out here today, because they, in my feelings, they've given up.
Mine is just real short too, because I think everybody else has basically said the same thing with these pretend, and I'll just call them pretend allegations, because that's what they are. It's just a bunch of people that don't have anything else to do, just sit around and talk about people. And for me, they should not be using all of the general counsel, and they should not call themselves general counsel, because they are not representing all of us. A general counsel should be just because they're not my band representative, they should be representing all of us. And as far as money, they're taking away from my grandchildren. They're taking away from your children, your grandchildren, by doing this and using these pretend allegations. And without band backing, I think that's a financial violation. And like everybody said, they should be reprimanded. I think bands should go to their band meetings. They should have them removed. We should all get together and find ways to sue them. I've said it for a very long time. We should find ways to sue them, because they are halting our business. They are stopping us from moving forward. And everybody that says you should do this and you should do that, Chief Chilcote,
you have my backing. Anything you need me to do, I'll do it. Now, I'm not going to be the one that says, you should do this. You tell me what you need me to do. I will help you. That's all I have.
My name is Emma Wesley Harjo. I am a member of the Eufaula Band. And two of our council representatives signed that petition, and they did not have our permission to do that. In September of last year, we had a meeting here at the mission where we brought 6 charges against them. And one of the charges states that you do not represent the Eufaula Band in this matter, that they had conspired with other council representatives to bring charges against the chief of the Seminole Nation, Greg Chilcote. You did not bring this matter to the band. You took it upon yourself to use your position to consult a law firm to bring charges against the chief. You do not represent the Eufaula Band in this manner and cannot use the Eufaula Band status in this regard. You are a common tribal member, and if there is a bill that this law firm will bring forward, you, Nancy Fixico, and you, Ida Gonzalez, will pay the bill as individuals, not as a representative of the Eufaula Band. The charges are unfounded, and you, Nancy Fixico, and you, Ida Gonzalez, do not have the band's permission to drag our band's name into the mud. This was a charge, one of the charges that we presented, but they refused to show up. And we had removed them as our council representatives. In our October meeting, that's when we all came to the band meeting, and they had Light Horse there. And Light Horse physically grabbed hold of my husband by the back of the neck, twisted his arm, and pushed him out the door. So they took over that meeting by kicking all of us out. How many was there? Like 20? They took 22 of us out the door so that they can conduct their meeting. So we still haven't resolved this, but it's going to get resolved. But I just want you to know that they do not represent us as in what they're doing. We don't stand behind them. We disagree with them all the way.
Also Emma right here, but I know at our last meeting, we voted, and our votes don't count. They went to the council house, they voted the way they wanted to vote it. Okay, there was another time, Nancy said she got in a car accident. She canceled the meeting the day before we were supposed to meet, but yet she was well enough to go to the council house and vote and sit on that chair. When are they going to get penalized for what they're doing? You know, we go to the band meetings. My sister and them are coming out of town from Dallas, some of them from somewhere else, to come to these meetings. And they're counseling the meetings, you know, before we have them. They'll put it in the paper, then they change it, or they'll counsel, and we're showing up. So this ain't fair to us. So how can they get penalized? You know, they want to penalize you, but what about them? Why are they not accountable for their actions?
Well, if it's 3 o'clock and if there's no other words, oh, yes, Wayne, yep, there's no other word.
I don't need that. I'm sure everybody can hear me. I'm a band chief for the Guadalupe Band. I announced to them about 3 weeks ago that I was going to call a band chief meeting, emergency call band chief meeting, because I feel that our nation is in dire emergency right now. We need to get some things straightened out, cleared up, and I think it needs to start with your band chief, including me, so we can disseminate proper information. We haven't met the last 2 times because our meetings are supposed to be on a Monday. Our new chairman put it to Saturday. Didn't let nobody know about this last 1 o'clock the afternoon meeting. So I want to let you all know now that I have called an emergency call band chief meeting for Monday evening at 6:30 at the council house.
Yes.
I just want to say briefly that I don't know how many gangs are represented here. But anyway, I'm glad that everybody came out and Chief wants to make it positive, and we're hearing positive reports through struggles, but we're getting there. And I know that one of the ladies said something about the petition, on the RISO. Well, there was a council representative that said it was just 3 or 5 disgruntled tribal members. And I put an article in that newspaper, and I said, and I called him too. He didn't return my call. But I said, there's more than 3 or 5 concerned tribal members regarding this. And our band talked about it several months, but to show that council representatives, somebody already said it, there were 300 signatures put in that newspaper. See, so today y'all are hearing facts, you're hearing good stuff, so I encourage you to go to your band and be a voice. And yes, these people are having a hard time in their band, but it's going to take more tribal members in their band, more of a voice, so I encourage y'all not to give up. And of course, we're going to continue to support Chief.
Real quick, I want to thank everybody for showing up. One of the things I want to leave with, I know that, and just like Ms. Hudson was talking about, a positive note. We need to have a positive note as we leave this building because the perception is not there that we want. Perception is everything. And we have to have the perception that we're capable of doing certain things in a positive way. Not only in how we conduct ourselves, but how we influence others to be a part of this. Because we want to provide the perception to be able to implement that so people will follow that. Because we're not doing that in the right way. It's like when I come in here, this coming in here wasn't to be a negative. It was to be informative. It was to give people information, disseminate stuff out to you guys so that you'd be aware of what's going on and the struggles that we do face. In those struggles that we do face, though, there's hope on the other side to inspire and empower us. One of the things I'm going to share with you just so as we leave, the mission statement is to create a foundation, provide an environment that will inspire and empower others for success. That should be a goal of ours in our head as we move forward, to inspire and empower others for success, not ourselves, but others. We got to forgo ourselves, and we got to look to others to help them become stronger as we move stronger together. Because it's the only way we're going to be successful is not one, but many. So thank you guys, appreciate it. Appreciate you coming out. Mado.
Hey, real quick before we leave, we'll have a word of prayer. I'd like to ask Mary Marthley, to dismiss us on prayer.
Grow
But oh, and we have a concession stand over here, and the last part, the Stigler Act, will take up next week on Saturday. But oh.
What around that?